How's it going? Doctor Who is a franchise that has a lot of lost media. I'm not just talking about missing episodes, I'm talking about fully written scripts that were never used, serials that began production but never finished for one reason or another. Even an entire season that was planned, locations booked, props and sets beginning construction, only for the show to go on hiatus and be replaced with a courtroom drama acting as a framing device for much more mediocre stories. Big Finish has adapted more than a few of these in their Lost Stories range. You got an origin story for the Ice Warriors that gave me the phrase that I utter every single morning when I reach for my cup of tea. The original idea for the 10th anniversary, eventually replaced by the 3 Doctors, and of course stories planned for the original season 23 and even some planned for series 27. But none have been more mythologized than SHADA. SHADA was originally going to be the finale for season 17. Written by Douglas Adams, it featured the 4th Doctor and Romana going to visit an old friend of the Doctor's, Professor Chronotis, a retired Time Lord professor living out his retirement in Cambridge University, and he's in possession of a very dangerous book from the early days of Gallifrey, baffling to science and imbued with magnificent temporal powers that should never be allowed to fall into the wrong hands, and he accidentally lends it out to a student. There's also a megalomaniac named Skagra, and he is absolutely fabulous. If you know Douglas Adams, you know what to expect. It's weird, it's whimsical, it's funny with a satirical edge, and a universe-spanning scope. In short, it is absolutely epic. But SHADA was ultimately never finished. Location filming at Cambridge University and the first of 3 studio sessions were completed, but on account of rampant inflation and unions calling for strikes, production halted with only 50% of the story being filmed in total. Capping off season 17 with the Haunts of Nyman, which I think we can all agree is not a very good situation for anyone involved. Anyway, eventually fans heard whisperings of an unfinished serial, making the rounds in zines, the 80s equivalent of a YouTube channel. It was mythologized as this unfinished masterpiece. Written by the genius behind Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I mean, the radio play was really taking off at that time. So was SHADA a lost masterpiece? Nobody could really know at the time. I mean, nobody was able to actually see it. J&T, the new producer of the show, wanted to finish it, but Douglas Adams didn't want any of it. He had a pretty dim view of the script, and because he didn't let Target Novelizations adapt any of his work, there was no way for anyone to actually experience SHADA. It wasn't completely gone though. A scene was used in the 5 Doctors. You see, Tom Baker had been approached to reprise his role for the 20th anniversary, but the man was a total diva, and he didn't want any other Doctors stealing his thunder, so they just used the scene from SHADA of him and Romana punting down the cam, and had them time-scooped and trapped in a time eddy or something, I don't know, sidelining them pretty much for the entire serial. Douglas Adams also used elements of it for his novel Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. Aside from that, SHADA was pretty much dead in the water. It seemed like it would be locked away forever, a footnote in Doctor Who history. But you know what this fandom is like. People would not shut up about it. SHADA became a legend in and of itself, more famous for being unfinished than it ever would have been if it had actually aired. And as the 90s approached and video sales for Doctor Who started to sell like hotcakes, the BBC saw money and Douglas Adams finally relented. The first official release of SHADA was the 1992 VHS release. The footage was cut together by Jonathan Nathan Turner, and Tom Baker narrated the missing bits. This was clunky, but it was also very interesting. Tom played the part semi-in character. Sometimes he was the Doctor, but he would also mention stuff that happened behind the scenes, and how sad they all were when SHADA had to be scrapped. He's sort of the 4th Doctor, but he's also really not, leading many fans to consider this as the first canonical appearance of the Curator. This release is honestly pretty cool. I don't have a VHS player, so I have never actually played this tape, but I have been able to see it through other means, including the season 17 box set. I mean, the box is a bit big and chunky, but that's because it doesn't only contain the tape, it also has the full script. So you can make your own SHADA if you want to. I mean, honestly, how many releases do this sort of stuff? In 1992, the same year as this release, Gareth Roberts released his own novelization of it, expanding on the original script. He wrote another one in 2012, which is considered to be much more faithful, but he also added a bunch of stuff. Now, I may be Mandela affecting here. I'm guessing this probably isn't true, but it is a valid interpretation in the text. It sort of heavily implies that the character of Claire Keatley is a Clara Splinter. Or at least I think it was. I mean, I remember this being a thing when it came out. I remember discourse, but I can't find anything online about it. Am I Mandela affecting here? I've got no idea. Please tell me in the comments if you remember this. I feel so alone right now. It's very much there in the text though if you look for it. Like when she first meets the Doctor and he says, "Hey, I'm the Doctor," she sort of recognizes him. She's just like, "Oh yeah, of course you are." Now, I don't know if this was the intent. He might have actually had behind the scenes knowledge when he was writing it. I don't know because it came out around about the same time as Asylum of the Daleks. But there are other Clara Splinters that have canonically replaced characters in the classic show, which has very serious implications, and it completely retextualizes everything from Season 7 Part 2. Like, when Clara jumped into the Doctor's time stream, she didn't just implant herself throughout the Doctor's timeline, she replaced people. Hundreds, possibly thousands of incidental characters from the classic show were written out of existence, replaced by copies of her. It's kind of messed up. Although, if I had the skill and the time, I would totally deepfake Clara Splinters into every single serial. Multiple times in some cases. Why? Because it would be funny. There's also this incidental character that was killed by Skagra. He made him not only gay, but really into Skagra, which I have no problem with, of course. Gareth Roberts himself is homosexual. Maybe he just wanted to get across just how sexy he thinks Skagra is, and valid. I mean, just look at him. Look at that jawline. But it's still a little bit weird and a little bit cruel. I mean, why do so many queer writers bury their gays when they don't have to? It's just weird. Also, Gareth Roberts is a total fucking TERF and transphobe. I got the audiobook before I knew about that, so yeah, I'll leave it up to you if you want to give money to this man. If you really want to read it, there is always that other option. Swiftly moving on from that, there is also the Big Finish BBC webcast. In the 2000s, the BBC were experimenting with online webcasts. These were flash animations paired up with an audio drama released in weekly installments. Scream of the Shulker, starring Richard E. Grant as the Ninth Doctor, for example. That was one of these webcasts, and yes, I am going to do a video on that incarnation. But another one was SHADA. Made in collaboration with Big Finish, originally they wanted to get Tom Baker to reprise the role, but he had been distancing himself from Doctor Who since the 80s. Rather than drop the entire project altogether, they just got Paul McGann. Gary Russell rewrote the script for the Eighth Doctor, and he made it fit in with the current continuity of the audios. Romana, for example, is now the Lord President of Gallifrey. The idea was that the Fourth Doctor didn't get around to doing the events of SHADA because him and Romana were time-scooped and put out of action, as seen in the 20th anniversary, the Five Doctors. When they were eventually put back in their rightful time and place, the Fourth Doctor got distracted and went off to do something else, only to realise 4 lifetimes later that what he was going to do at Cambridge all those years ago was actually pretty damn important, so he grabs Romana and K9 from the Presidential Palace to pick up the adventure where they left off. As far as adaptations go, it's pretty damn good, but listening to it now, some of the dialogue is out of place coming from the Eighth Doctor. It was, after all, written with the Fourth Doctor in mind. Although you could just say that 8 is just being nostalgic, which of course he is, I mean, for the entire thing. I mean, he's a very nostalgic Doctor. It was later released as an audio drama, and that's the version that I have. But I have never seen the animation. It's available on the BBC website, but you have to have Flash Player installed, which is completely defunct these days. It's also apparently on the 2017 Blu-ray release, but I only have the DVD because I'm a cheap bastard. But I'd love to get a copy of the animation if I can. If you know somewhere where I can watch it, please let me know in the comments because I would really like to watch it. I should probably also mention the non-official version, Doctor Who and the SHADA Man. This was an unofficial release, not sanctioned by the BBC, headed by Ian Levine. He's basically a legend when it comes to Doctor Who stuff. He is responsible for a lot of the missing episodes actually returning. This was a recut of SHADA with the original footage and animation filling in the gaps, using original actors where possible. Unfortunately, they couldn't get Tom Baker though because diva. It was also plagued by budget constraints, so the animation probably isn't great. I haven't seen this one either, honestly. But honestly, from the images I've found, it looks pretty decent. This entire project is part of a long tradition of fan animations which continues today. It's one of my favorite things about fandom. There are so many obsessively talented people in every single fandom. People are just so passionate about this stuff. Where copyright holders fail, the fandom always provides. Now we're up to the one that you're all probably familiar with, the 2017 release. This is almost the best way to experience the story. They took the live action footage, restored it, and animated the rest, voiced by the original actors, including Tom Baker and Lalla Ward. Big Finish eventually managed to make him come around in 2011, and he's been doing stuff for them ever since. It's like his voice never ages, it's still just as crisp as it was back then, making the animated parts nowhere near as jarring as you'd think they'd be. The animation does have its critics, but overall it's pretty damn fantastic. But they did it like a movie, intended to be watched in one sitting, not the original intent at all. This was fixed when the collection box set for Season 17 came out, in December of 2021 in the UK, much later for everywhere else. It features SHADA, the definitive version. The animation was tweaked a little bit, and the cliffhangers and ending stings put back in, so it could be viewed in 6 episodes as originally intended. Oh no. Oh shite. I just broke it. Oh no. No. This is why I hate this type of package. I hate these types of box sets. This is why. Honestly, I consider this the best possible way to watch SHADA. Unfortunately, you have to go all in on the box set, but they do cheaper releases of these, so if you're into the Fourth Doctor and you want to see SHADA, keep an eye out for it. So that is how you watch SHADA. But I know what you're thinking, which one of these is actually canon? Well, to be honest, I consider canon to be a very personal thing. There's 3 different versions of Atlantis in this show. The Doctor is a timeless child and has lived countless lifetimes, yet when Clara entered the Doctor's time stream, she only saw 12 of him, including war. This show does no favors for you, so you have to sort of pick and choose what to accept. That said, from a purely objective standpoint, the only one of these that could possibly be canon is the Big Finish one. What? It's the only one that fits in with everything that we already know. The 4th Doctor was time scooped at the start of this story. That is irrevocably in the canon now thanks to the 5 Doctors. Right when he was about to go and see Chronotis, the Doctor and Romana were trapped in a timey-wimey thing, and by the time they were released from that, it would have left them disorientated, a little bit confused, a little bit disturbed, and probably in desperate need of a lie down. 4 is very easily distracted. It makes sense they would forget about the whole Chronotis thing, leaving 8 to pick up the story later on. Anyway, that is my video on SHADA. Thanks for watching, thank you members. I mean, I wasn't really expecting anyone else to sign up for memberships, and I feel kind of bad now because now I have to make content. I am going to make lots and lots of content for you guys. Some of it might not have anything to do with Doctor Who, but that's alright. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to go back to doing the 8th Doctor videos now.